This is the middle section of the panel clamp, and it's in a frame that's built out of wood, and there's a fixed position bracket on here to keep this in a fixed position. If I take the fixed position bracket off, I can rotate this 360 degrees. And then I put it back on to put it in the fixed position again. And there's two clamps that are going to be clamping my panel in a horizontal direction. And I'll show you a little bit later how that works.
Now this is the bottom section that is on the hoist that's being lowered down to the middle section. Now the bottom section has been lowered inside the middle section, and we're ready to put the clamps on between the bottom section and the middle section. I put the 8.5 inch pipe clamps on the corners, so now the bottom section is secured to the middle section. The panel clamp has been rotated 180 degrees, so now the bottom section is on the bottom of the panel clamp. Now a steel spacer bar 2 inches wide is placed at the foot end and head end of the pipe clamp, so that the pressure on the two ends will be even across the total width of the panel. 6 boards making up the panel, and this board that's between the 6 boards and the steel spacer bar is another spacer bar that's required in order to put pressure on the pieces of wood in the panel. The section is now on the hoist and it's being lowered down on top of the panel and the steel spacer bars. Has now been placed on top of the panel and the steel spacer bars, and the next step is to put pipe clamps between the clamping bars on the top section and the clamping bars on the middle section. The pipe clamps have now been placed between the top section and the middle section, and they are tightened to force the boards against the cross walls of the bottom section and make sure that the boards are forming a flat panel. The horizontal pipe clamps are then tightened and the boards are brought together so that the seams are tight. The clamps have been tightened, the glue is allowed to dry for 10 minutes, and then the top section is removed and the glue is cleaned from the top surface of the wood panel. The top section is placed back in position and clamped, and the panel is rotated 180 degrees, and the bottom section is also lifted up, and the bottom surface of the wood panel is cleaned, and then the bottom section is put back in position and clamped. It is intended to glue edge to edge 3/4 inch pieces of wood, and the top section is resting not only on the 3/4 inch thick pieces of wood in the panel, but also on the 3/4 inch thick steel bars. And the top section will never go below the top surface of the steel bars, and there will always be 3/4 of an inch between the bottom of the cross walls that you see in the top section and the top of the cross walls that are directly underneath the wood panel. The clamp will produce a flat panel. It will produce seams that are tight with no gaps, and it will produce a flat panel that has minimum glue on the top surface and the bottom surface.